Good Thursday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center, taking a look at that forecast here across the region, doing things a little bit different with live updates now here in the late afternoon hours as we look ahead on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and also after this is over, I'll post this video here embedded on cloudweather.com as well. But first off, we want to start with the margin risk of severe weather in play from the Storm Prediction Center. You can see that here in the dark green on the screen. In fact, as we're looking toward the first coast, also even out towards dark here as we get into north central Florida under this here as well, and then southeastern Georgia too. So just something to watch. We just had a severe thunderstorm warning expire out towards Savannah, so that's something that they've been watching up there. And we just have to kind of watch to see how things come together because there'll be some later storms than normal here coming in toward the picture, coming out here from areas of southern Georgia and moving across parts of our region potentially based on some of the model data. So just something to watch. Damage and winds the main threat here. In fact, I'm just checking with the Storm Prediction Center to see if a new outlook's come out yet here. This is from about noontime. The 4 o'clock update hadn't come in quite yet, so this might change a little bit. We'll just wait and see here. Should have that for you before the end of this as we get into some other weather-related topics here as well on this Thursday. Again, though, just watching that storm threat. We will zoom into some of this shower action, though, as we go on over toward the Valdosta radar right now. Let me go ahead and switch that on up toward our screen here. If we were to kind of see what's going on as we get more information here in the chat, always keeping up on things. I know out toward areas around Orlando, highest temperature all year long reached today 97 degrees, tied a record high there as well. So something pretty intriguing. We'll get into some of those temperatures here in a moment too. You do see the heat advisory in play off toward Wakulla County, Liberty County, Franklin County for tomorrow. That's in that lighter orange color there. So just something to watch out for. Heat index values, in fact, we could be talking temperatures there as I look at some of my notes here from about noon Eastern to about 7 Eastern. Those temperatures really warming and those heat index values, what this is issued for, of course, those could be around 108 degrees and pretty widespread fast, and so something to watch out for sure. Again, as we're looking off toward the west, but even pretty warm temperatures in play in other spots here as well. As we go ahead now, I think we'll zoom on into some of this action here in just a second as we kind of go between some different things here in our system. Gonna go ahead and make sure we have our mouse here working for us as we do look at some different tools that we can use here. And we do see off toward Jefferson County around Monticello there, seeing some storminess here in place. So something to watch out for in that vicinity as well. That's going to be moving on off, it looks like, toward areas around Madison County here over the next little bit, and already getting some storminess there up in northern parts of Madison County as well. You see towards southern Georgia there, Lakeland, Homerville. I know we had a severe storm warning around Lakeland yesterday, so something that was pretty intriguing to see there as well. And then you see out toward Nassau County, around areas there of Yulee, Becker there, getting a pretty nasty thunderstorm, but no significant weather advisories yet. Even up toward Waycross, we're watching stuff. This might be where we have some of the stronger accents come together, as 4 to 11 is the time range we're really watching today. Again, later than normal, southeastern Georgia first, and then the first coast region here later on. So going to be kind of keeping our eyes to the radar here, of course, as we now switch it back on over. I think we just got the update in, and it's pretty much the exact same thing we were looking at here earlier. If not the exact same thing, it's very close here with the update from the Storm Prediction Center on this marginal risk area. Going to be watching that storminess in around maybe into toward Flagler County here as well later on. So just something to watch. Again, damage and winds, the main potential here. Not really tracking a hail threat with these storms. So just going to be watching as these temperatures have gotten really warm. You kind of get these warm temperatures to fuel things before you actually get the storminess to come into play here. At 91 toward Gainesville right now, 93 in Keystone. And where I'm at here in this dark area, we're at 93. Our heat index value is getting very warm, even warmer than other spots where I'm at, just based on some different variabilities in location here. And then as we look up toward Jacksonville, they're at 91 at the airport. Cecil Field, though, a spot that's typically warmer, they're at 97 degrees. Tallahassee, 95. Little cooler, but still very warm in Albany, Dougherty County, 90 degrees there. So just kind of giving you an idea of some of the different readings here across the region. So again, just keeping an eye on that weather situation. Let's take a look outside now at some of our different cameras here that we have at our disposal. Some of these different weather sim cameras. We'll start with the baseball grounds camera there in toward Jacksonville. You can kind of see what's going on outside there, and getting a gander to what's actually happening if you haven't really got out of the house maybe today, something like that, something to kind of bear in mind here for sure. So seeing some of those breaks in the clouds, but you're seeing some more cloud cover around as well. And then as we get toward Baker County here, we have the high school camera up at the weather sim station on campus, and you'll be able to see what's going on with some of that cloud cover coming into play. But you're still seeing some mixing, still seeing some heating going on here around the region. And then our third stop here as we move away from areas around Jacksonville and I-10 there toward areas closer to I-10 in Leon County, Tallahassee, FSU. That'll pop up in just a second. Our computer running a little bit slow there, but you get the idea of what's going on with some of that sunshine peeking on through there. Storm threat not quite as much there. The temperature is going to be getting a little bit warmer as we look ahead on that forecast here. I'll see you in a moment. Those temperatures here are going to be just a little bit warmer for you guys, and then maybe a little bit cooler off toward north central Florida. Some spots just kind of having to average it out here. That's how we're having to do it, of course. But FSU there, you see a few more maybe breaks in the cloud cover. And while we're talking about FSU, I do want to send my thoughts and prayers out to Bobby Bowden, former FSU coach for a very long time, diagnosed with a terminal medical condition. So I just want to send my thoughts and prayers out there, of course. Has done so much for Florida State University over the years. But now let's go ahead and move away from our weather stem technology and toward the Tallahassee area, and we'll take you over towards Cedar Key. You'll be able to see what's happening there in toward parts of Levy County, and you can see here pretty vivid as we're looking toward those coastal areas. The chance of the storm's a little bit lower out there like we've been talking about, but then as we get down now toward Alachua County, going to be watching storms in toward that UF weather sim camera. As we do look ahead in toward the timeline, you see some darker clouds there, even some storminess as we look toward areas around Worthington Springs, it looks like right now on the Doppler radar technology. So something to kind of keep an eye out for sure. Just something to watch for as we're looking at some of our different tools here in the Weather Center. But we'll move away now from our weather stem viewpoint there, and we'll go back on over to our systems that we have, some other storms that we're watching. You'll be able to kind of see how some of this accent trying to come together a little bit. Zooming in toward La Crosse and Brooker, for instance, you can see some of that here on the view. And then as we get here down toward, it looks like Pearson, some of this out of our area, but you get the idea. And then we talked about Yulee, Waycross there as well. So just giving you a look here at the Doppler radar, what's going on this Thursday. As again, I'm going to be watching those hot temperatures. Just make sure you use extra caution, of course, as you're headed out and about. Just checking my notes here real quick to see what else we need to talk about before we get into this show in terms of some of those graphics out there. Again, talking about those hotter conditions off toward the west for sure. Now let's go ahead and get over toward the graphics, and you'll be able to see some different things. Of course, we have that severe chance we've been talking about here in the Weather Center, keeping our eyes on that threat. So let me go ahead and get over to a graphic that's kind of relevant to that. Not completely, but you kind of get the idea here in that we are going to be looking at maybe some base severe storms later tonight. But what this is kind of talking about here is that beginning on July 28th, it was going to be implemented a little bit earlier, but now going to be implemented on July 28th. Where destructive severe thunderstorms, considerable severe thunderstorms are going to be categorized, and then they're going to be kind of described there in the different warning statements accordingly. And then when you have a destructive severe storm, you're going to have a wireless emergency alert like what you would for a tornado warning come out for that, and that'll go across some smartphones for that potential. But any severe thunderstorm, including some we could get today, probably more than that, 58 to 70 mile an hour range there. Even just storms 50 to 60 going to be pretty dangerous. And not just any severe thunderstorm, but even any thunderstorm can be dangerous, honestly. So just remember, when thunder roars, you want to go indoors, seek shelter inside a sturdy building, and stay away from those windows. So as we now look ahead, away from that though, and look ahead toward the tropics, we are watching a system out here that's going to be kind of trying to evolve. It's around Statesboro, Georgia, as the last check, trying to get its act together. As we look ahead in towards some of those model runs, we'll see if things come together. Not terribly concerned, because in fact might end up seeing more dry air come into play because of this later on, as it does kind of go out toward the east and maybe coming on back toward parts of Florida, but probably toward our south here based on some different indications, as you can see here in our rainfall forecast as we're looking down here towards South Florida there, getting some higher rainfall totals over the next 7 days or so. Even Central Florida, you see some of that purple here coming on the screen, and maybe inching some of that moisture up into parts of Marion, Putnam, Flagler counties. We'll just wait and see here with some of the higher rain chances in play. But this kind of gives you an idea here, maybe on average around 3/4 of an inch of rain over the next 7 days. So storms at times can be a big issue when you have that instability around, that unstable air. But other times it's going to be about the heat when you're not getting those cooling showers, as I look right now at 92 degrees toward this dark area at this moment. So something to watch for. If there's any severe weather, of course, we'll break in with the latest information on the different platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, with that live coverage as needed, depending on the exact threat, who's being impacted, what type of threat it is. And then cloudweather.com/radar will give you that latest information when we're not on the air. You'll be able to see what's happening there on that, and you'll be able to kind of move that around and see where some of the action is going as we now move on over toward the nameless. So if something were to emerge there off the east coast of Florida, off the southeast coast, we'll be talking about Fred above and there. So something to kind of be mindful of as we look ahead. And then as we get over toward that extended forecast, now you do see a 70% chance of rain tomorrow. Going to be pretty stormy around, but then we talked about a drier air. I've been able to lower the rain chance for Saturday some, and then you see 40-50% chances here as we're looking ahead in toward that timeline. You see 90s, 92, 93 overall, but some spots a little bit warmer actually as we are looking ahead here, like out toward Tallahassee. So keep that in mind as we are kind of thinking about those local variabilities. You see there, looking at some of these lows, maybe a little warmer at times, above average a little bit here in toward that picture. Of course, we watch out for storms that can develop, can be pretty strong here. Not really talking about tornadic action though, as storms really not going to be able to rotate too much. It doesn't look like here overall. You can't ever say never, but you just always have to kind of be on guard since we might have something tropical evolving. But overall, it's going to be more about those pop-up pulse type storms. You know, maybe a little more organization later on today, like we've talked about with that marginal risk, but not a huge concern, just a 1 out of 5 on the scale. We're watching things, again, this new schedule that we're doing, new schedule in terms of how we're going to be doing these updates. Let's go ahead and pop back the radar once again here to see what's going on maybe one more time before we wrap it on up for today. Again, maybe back later on, but there's your viewpoint. You see 95 out toward Tallahassee, 93 over toward Keystone, toward Gainesville. They're at 91 degrees right now. So some spots really might want those cooling showers around. I mean, of course, you don't want to light it, but at least it'll cool things off a little bit here in the grand scheme of things. It's, again, seeing some very warm temperatures already, like I said, up toward 97 in Orlando today, tying the record for today and the hottest temperature of the year. We got to 93 toward start today. It looks like we peaked on that. We're starting to kind of fall off a little bit from that here as I look on over. So that's going to kind of compare toward our highest temperature of 95 degrees. 40 year, we've had that a few different times. 93 here today, so not quite to the highest, but definitely could there for a little bit get closer toward the highest temperature of the year as we're looking ahead, especially with what you saw in that forecast there, how those temperatures will play out. Maybe we don't get some of that rain, allowing things to warm up a little bit more one day versus another. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Thanks so much for tuning in. I do see there is a significant weather advisory coming out now for Baker County in Georgia, not Baker County, Florida, where we were showing you that camera from Baker County High School, but Baker County in Georgia, watching a threat here for some storminess. So let me go ahead and look up that way real quick. I have that on our viewpoint here as we're going between Leary and Milford. I'll go ahead and see some of the details on this advisory. They should be popping on up now. Gust in excess of 40 miles an hour possible. In fact, I have a better view of this on our other radar source. So let me go ahead and switch you on over there. This is going to be a storm that could end up getting severe later on. We have the radar at Moody Air Force Base up now. This is the type of situation we probably wouldn't cut in for unless obviously it was a tornado warning. We always cut in for those, but this is more rural areas, so if this were to go severe, probably not cutting in for this necessarily as it moves off toward Newton or Camilla, but just giving you the heads up there. Baker, Georgia, Baker County, Georgia, Mitchell County, Georgia there. Winds in excess of 40 miles an hour possible around Newton, Hawkinstown there, as well as Almodale, Milford, also over toward the Red Store Crossroads area too. So going to be tracking that potential there, seeing how things go in the Weather Center. But again, as I was mentioning a moment ago, thanks so much for tuning in for the latest weather information as we go ahead and leave you with that look at the area one more time. If I don't have to cut in for some reason, I probably will, but if I don't, I'll just go ahead and wish you a great weekend.